Hello, and welcome to another installment of the Psychology of Better Call Saul, a series which attempts to understand the many psychological motivations of the characters in this television show. In this episode, I am going to take a closer look at the character of Gus Fring and the ways that he exhibits many symptoms which would constitute a psychological diagnosis of obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Gus is a character who has been known since the Breaking Bad universe, and although he has only been in Better Call Saul since Season 3, we can understand much about his disorder through available visual information. In Better Call Saul, it seems that the creators were aiming at providing more context to the character and showing us the different ways that this disorder rules aspects of his life. While most might be familiar with OCD or Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, they may not be as familiar with Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder. OCD primarily involves obsessive thoughts and compulsive acts aimed at alleviating those thoughts. Those with OCD are often fully aware of their symptoms and seem to be tortured in some sense by their obsessional nature. They normally would like to be rid of the ways they think and behave. Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder, on the other hand, is more deeply ingrained, and the person may not recognize this way of life as being problematic. They aim at perfection and are highly rigid and orderly, not only demanding this type of behavior from themselves, but also from those around them. Ultimately, those that deal with this disorder are afflicted by these issues due to an underlying need for control and lack of unpredictability in life. With this information in mind, let's get into the analysis. In Season 3, Episode 4, Gus is at the local fire station, meeting with the firefighters. As we had seen in Breaking Bad, he has formed many ties between local agencies and his business. Due to his overwhelming need for control, Gus is always planning ahead, making attempts to secure his future control over his business and life. He knows that through connections with these agencies, he will ensure some level of protection and safety in the event that things go wrong. He is then called to his restaurant, as Hector and his crew had arrived, making trouble. He meets with Hector in his office, as Hector is sitting in Gus's chair, smoking a cigar, and removing gunk from the bottom of his shoe with Gus's pen. Hector knows that Gus is averse to chaos and unpredictability, but also to things being uncleanly and unsanitary. Throughout their conversation, Gus continually refers back to the rules, order, and structure of the cartel business as a way to oppose Hector's requests to make changes in his favor. Right after Hector and his gang leaves Los Pollos Hermanos, Gus begins immediately cleaning without a moment's pause. He then crumbles up a piece of tinfoil and accurately shoots it into the wastebasket with a satisfied look on his face. The process of returning to order and control is allowing him to deal with whatever unpleasant emotions had arisen from the previous encounter. Individuals with obsessive-compulsive personalities are emotionally constricted and regimented. They prefer to operate as if emotions were irrelevant and to defend against threatening emotions and desires through rigidity, regimentation, and intellectualization. They tend to be excessively concerned with rules, procedures, order, organization, schedules, and so on, and may be excessively devoted to work and productivity to the detriment of leisure and relationships. In Season 3, Episode 9, we see Mike going to meet with Lydia at Madrigal Corporation. The Madrigal building is clean, neat, and organized from an outsider view. The headquarters is also based out of Germany, a country that is known for its hyper-efficiency and productivity. The company seems to be mirroring the characteristics of Gus's disorder. At the same time, Mike and Lydia are two of the people who will be critical in Gus's ventures during the rest of the show, as well as in the Breaking Bad universe. As Gus is highly precise and detail-oriented, he needs similar people to be leading branches of his enterprises. We see how the two of them operate in different but similar fashions. Lydia is focused on crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. She is hyper-focused on details and facts, on logic and reasoning. She is the analytical type. Lydia seems to be more dominated by the traits that go along with left-brain thinking. Mike, on the other hand, approaches the business in a different way, as he is more creative and free-thinking. He's able to see a more comprehensive picture than Lydia, as he visualizes different future possibilities. Mike seems to be more right-brained in his thinking style. Lydia needs the facts and past experiences as a basis for her thinking, while Mike thinks outside the box. It seems that by recruiting Mike, Gus has been able to assemble the other half of the brain that he was missing with only Lydia. He now has two of his primary business leaders thinking in different ways for him, providing Gus the opportunity to retain fuller control over his business ventures. Beneath an orderly and regimented exterior, they are preoccupied with underlying issues of control. Central to an obsessive-compulsive psychology is a resistance to feeling out of control. A characteristic pathogenic belief about others is that others are less precise and in control than I am, so I have to control what they do and resist being controlled by them. In Season 4, Episode 2, Tyrus has returned from overseeing Hector's condition in the nursing home and is reporting back to Gus. We notice at the beginning of the scene that Gus has his hand down on the desk, but is willingly keeping his index finger elevated. We see then a shot of his face as he is staring at the desk and his finger while listening to the report. He's waiting to hear if anything has changed in Hector's condition, and when Tyrus finally tells him nothing has changed, Gus drops his finger down and opens the packet containing the medical file. There may be some underlying tension, anxiety, or distress for Gus during this conversation as he is anticipating what the answer might be. But as opposed to experiencing these unpleasant feelings, Gus instead attempts to maintain some sort of control through his own bodily movements. He may believe that by keeping his finger raised or by thinking a certain way, that he will impact the outcome of the conversation and what is contained in the medical file. He seems to be engaging in magical thinking, a psychological issue which is common for many who suffer from some type of obsessive-compulsive traits. Magical thinking is defined as the belief that one's thoughts, actions, words, or wishes can alter the course of events in the physical world. This type of thinking represents a form of OCD in which individuals believe it is necessary to follow specific rules to ensure good things will occur and or prevent bad things from happening. They may become preoccupied with lucky or unlucky numbers, colors, words, actions, sayings, or superstitions. For instance, one may have an obsession that tells them to place their water bottle down on the table in a specific way to prevent someone in their family from contracting a deadly disease. In Season 4, Episode 3, we see Victor and Tyrus creating a fake robbery in an attempt to make it appear as if Nacho was ambushed on the highway. In the previous episode, Gus had killed Arturo and informed Nacho that he would be working for him from now on. In order to make it believable, Gus needs to orchestrate the ambush so that the Salamanca family will have no doubts. Through observation as viewers, we see the amount of detail that Gus feels is necessary in situations like these. His obsessive nature requires him to ensure there are no options available which will reveal the true nature of what happened. It's almost as if they are constructing a crime scene that was not actually a crime scene. Gus's analytical and meticulous nature allows him to essentially reverse engineer situations in his mind so that he can then reconstruct them in the most efficient and foolproof way possible. The ambush serves as a type of externalization of Gus's own internal world. He is projecting the rigid and structured nature of his mind into the staging of the robbery. As opposed to obsessive types who are often in their heads, compulsive souls are chronically doing and undoing, cleaning, collecting, perfecting. Compulsive individuals tend to be busy, meticulous, perfectionists. Their self-esteem depends on doing. In Season 4, Episode 5, Gus and Mike are interviewing different men to lead the project of building the underground meth lab. In the early part of the episode, the Frenchman takes a few measurements, primarily with a laser pointer, while not writing anything down. He seems to be fairly confident about his abilities and almost immediately talks about money involved. Gus and Mike instantly agree that he is not suitable due to his laissez-faire attitude. Then near the end of the episode, Werner is brought in for the same interview. He spends considerably more time measuring and analyzing, writing everything down during the process. He is having a conversation with himself as he goes through things, as he is fully immersed in the work. He then has many questions and is fairly pessimistic about the potential results. Werner is exactly what Gus is looking for. He needs someone who looks at things from all angles someone who doesn't take anything for granted. He needs someone who's as obsessive as he is himself. The only way for Gus to feel comfortable in allowing other people to do their job is if they also have the same type of obsessive and controlling nature that he himself possesses. He requires his environment, including the surrounding people, to be steeped in order and productivity. In Season 5, Episode 4, Gus is at Los Pollos Hermanos as Lyle is closing things down. Gus is sitting at his desk, waiting for word about the situation with the DEA, as he has been forced to give up a large deal of money in order to keep the feds at bay. This is a situation that for most people would produce much stress and anxiety, as one false move could destroy all the operations. Lyle is ready to leave for the night, and Gus says,
"Everything all right, Mr. Fring?
This is acceptable to you?"
regarding the cleanliness of the fryers. Lyle isn't sure what is going on, as he seems to be a very efficient and tidy worker and can't see anything that needs to change. The reality is, there isn't anything that needs to change. But Gus needs an outlet in order to control the anxiety and stress that he should be feeling about the DEA situation. Instead of feeling the emotions, he attempts to control things within his grasp, such as his employees and the work they do. Not only is Lyle being controlled by having to stay late, he is also participating in the excessive cleaning that is essential in Gus's life. Throughout the episode, we see Gus sitting at his desk, motionless, waiting for the call, while constantly checking on Lyle's fruitless efforts. After Gus receives a call that they're in the clear, he tells Lyle to go home and says that his work is acceptable, despite the fact that Lyle is exhausted and sweating after spending an excessive amount of time cleaning. Lyle goes home bewildered as Gus fixes the handles on the fryers, attempting to perfect an already perfected job. They fear that their impulses, especially their aggressive urges, will get out of control. They are famously rigid and punitive. Self-criticism is harsh. Such individuals hold themselves and others to ideal standards. They follow rules literally, get lost in details. They are scrupulous to a fault, but may have trouble relaxing, joking, and being intimate. In Season 5, Episode 7, we are offered one of our few glimpses of Gus when he is not in a professional setting and when he is not around others. He is staying in an ultra-clean and visually pleasing hotel room after going to a conference for Magical Corporation. He lays down his room key, wallet, and pen perfectly next to each other on the table. He takes off his jacket, undoes his shirt, and takes off his work shoes, slowly and methodically. He then places them in the closet in a prepared manner. The entire time he is performing these actions, he has a very satisfied look on his face, while also displaying rigid and robotic-like movements. We understand that routine, order, and structure are integral not only to Gus's professional life, but for his personal life as well. Living life this way may be more important to him than anything else, including making money, being successful, or being powerful. It seems that in the end, money, power, and success essentially just serve as ways to maintain order and structure. They help him reduce the threatening emotions which chaos and disorder would allow into his life. This concludes this installment from the series on Better Call Saul. Please watch my other videos regarding other characters if you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching.